What is going on YouTube? Today I've got a pretty awesome creation I'm going to teach you how to build, but first before we get started I want to explain a little bit about this building. First of all, it's a tree farm, but it's not just any kind of tree farm, it is every kind of tree farm. By that I mean that you can grow every single type of wood inside here, so let's go ahead and jump in. You can see we've got the jungles. I've even been putting on some cocoa beans just because it looks cool. We've got the birch wood, the dark oak, the regular oak, and the spruce. So we've got all that, and then we've also got right back here, we've got area for acacia, and let's go ahead and get this started. I just need to come over here and step on the pressure plate, and I'm going to go ahead and start harvesting. The cool thing about this tree farm is that, it's not one of those tree farms where it completely automatically harvests everything and does everything for you and uses a ton of bone meal. Instead, it's something that you can just walk up, chop down whatever wood you need, and plant your saplings and leave. Okay, now you might say, what about all the saplings that are going to drop and fall on the ground? You're going to waste everything. Well, actually, no, we're not. Let's go ahead and drop that in. Because what I did is I stepped onto this pressure plate, and underneath here, there are a bunch of rails with minecart hoppers, and they run around all over this place and collect everything as the leaves decay. So you can see the leaves are decaying. There's a sapling right there, and eventually a minecart will run right underneath it before it despawns, and it will pick it up. So it's really, really helpful. I mean, back here I've even got a good area for collecting a lot of wood. So right here, you can plant a ton of oak saplings right next to each other, and it's just basically a big block of wood you can chop down. So that's really effective to do it as well. The best way to do it actually is to use spruce saplings, and then you'll grow the 2x2 trees that are really tall, and you'll get a massive amount of wood. So yeah, you can see that everything gets sorted on over here. That's where it sorts out all the wood and the saplings. And then I've got, just a whole bunch of redstone underneath. But instead of showing you that, why don't we jump into Creative World? I'll show you guys how to get started and everything you need to do to build one of these for yourselves. So let's go. Alright, so I'm in my creative world. This is where I basically designed this farm. This is the prototype right here, and I just did a lot of testing about the tree sizes and the tree growths and everything, and so that's how I came up with this design, this special layout for all the trees. I made it just big enough so that the trees, won't really interfere with each other, but they'll still have plenty of room to grow their saplings, and so you get plenty of sapling drops out of it, and you don't run out of saplings while you run it. So here's our layout that we're going to go ahead and start out with. Now, the first thing we need to make a note of is this is the tree growing area. So that's all that area I had covered in carpet. So this is basically underneath, that's where all of the tracks are going to go that'll pick up any of the saplings that fall, any of the saplings and wood, I should say. And then, so that's a 30 by 37, so 30 wide by 37 long by 2 deep. And then we've got the redstone area, so we're going to do all of our redstone in this area, and that's just, 30, the same length across down there, and then 4, so that goes up to right here, the edge of this tree area, because we're going to dig a little bit deeper right there. And then, by 5, so it's 5 deep. And then right here, this is the total area, so if you're going to build some kind of wall around this entire thing, this is the imprint that it's going to make inside your world. 39 by 45, so make sure you got a big enough area that's, 39 by 45 at least, and you should be good to go. So let's go ahead and clear out, we'll start out with clearing out this area, and probably the redstone area, and I'll show you what to do. So go ahead and start digging. Alright, so now that we've got all this dug out, I should also mention that this is the level that we'll be planting the trees, so if that's what you want, then you'll want to dig it out just like I did here, or if you want to raise it up or lower it, just make sure you adjust for whatever you need to do. But let me go ahead and show you guys all of the materials that you're going to need. I probably should have shown you earlier, but for the most part, this is the main things. I mean, you're going to need about 15 stacks of rails. That may sound like a lot, but I actually checked it. It's actually just a stack, well, it's 6 stacks of iron to make 15 stacks of rails, so that's really not too hard. I mean, you can get that just from mining. In my world, I've got tons of iron, so I don't even have to worry about it. The powered rails, though, that'll be a little bit tricky. I'm using about 3 stacks of them. You could try and go a little cheaper and space them out a little bit more, but just play with it, see how much you need. I usually just do 3 stacks. And then you'll need 1 detector rail, 4 minecarts with hoppers. Just grab about a stack of hoppers, you probably won't use them all. Then a few stacks of redstone, some redstone torches, redstone repeaters, redstone comparators. You'll need a dropper, and then a whole bunch of building blocks. I just have 1 stack right there. And then these blocks of redstone, you don't actually need them if you want to use levers underneath to power your rails, but I just find it easier to use blocks of redstone to do it. So let's go ahead and start things off with just a few things here. Let me grab just some redstone things as well. Let's see, I'll need you and you. And I guess I'll grab this guy right there. And then I also want to grab some of these rails. Okay, is that everything? Yeah, so we're going to start off by getting a line of hoppers. Now this is basically where the tree area ends. So make sure, like I showed you before, there used to be a green wool block right here. So this is part of the tree collection area where this hole is. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and line up all these hoppers in a row, right like that. And that's actually part of where the railings will go on. So let me just go ahead and finish this up. Alright, so you should have all these hoppers pointing in the same direction, either way, left or right, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to do it over to the right side over here though, and we'll figure out where those go later. We'll do something with that, but for right now, we're going to do the loading and unloading docks for each of the minecart hoppers. So we'll start with this end right here. The way it'll work is we're going to have a powered rail right on top of that hopper. And we need to make it so it detects whenever there's an item inside of there. And that's when it's going to unpower this the powered rail, so that whatever hopper is on top of it, it'll stop and start unloading the items. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to just bring a comparator right out from the hopper, so it gets a signal whenever there's items in there. And we'll have a torch right here. And we'll put a block on top there and a repeater going into that block. And that's basically all you need to do. So whenever a minecart runs over the top of there and there's items going through, it'll stop and unload, and then when it's finished, it'll send it off again. So that's exactly what we want inside of here. Now we're going to build another one. It's going to be block number 15 and 16. So it's basically right in the middle over here. And so let's see, that's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So it's going to be those 2 blocks right there. Alright, so we don't need those all the way through there. And that's actually, I should have probably put these powered rails right there. Those are going to actually be pretty difficult, pretty tricky to align themselves. So let me show you a little trick to get them to align here. We're going to want to use some temporary blocks because we don't want them connected to each other just like this. We're going to make 2 of those things right next to each other. So we are going to line one of them up like this and just kind of do something like that. And then we'll get the other one lined up like that. So see how they're pointing in this direction? That's good. So now we should be able to put both of our blocks just like this. And let me go ahead and place that right there. Oh, no, we don't want that yet. I'll put that right there and then put that right there. So that's how they should be. Now let's go ahead and place our blocks, and you can see that those are all lined up correctly. And so that's just a little trick you can do to do it. Now let's go ahead and finish our little thing that we built over before. Whoops, put that in the right spot. There we go. Okay, so again, we get the comparators, put them away from the hoppers, right into that block, and then from that block we're going to put a torch, and then on top of the torch we're going to have a block right there, on top of the torch, and repeaters going back in there, so it powers that, and that's exactly how you do it. So we are going to do one more right here. I'll go ahead and show you how to do it one more time just in case. So we're going to have a block right there, and a block underneath, right there, and right there. So we've got a torch right here, a repeater right there, and a comparator right there. And that should be everything. Nope, we didn't put that right. There we go. That should be everything, and then this is going to carry along. Alright, so now I'm going to show you what to do with all the rails. First off, if you're going to do what I'm going to do and you have a lot of redstone, it's the easy way. Just use redstone blocks to power your rails. If you don't have a lot of redstone and you want to save on it, then you'll want to use a bunch of levers. And the best way to do that is probably mark out with maybe a different block like cobblestone or something wherever you're going to put the powered rails on. So we're going to go ahead and start out with the powered rails being, so we're going to have a regular rail right here, and then this is going to be the first powered rail. So this is all going to be a line of redstone blocks if you're using them. If you're not, then just use cobblestone for right now. And so let's go ahead and do that, and then we're going to line it up with redstone blocks, and that'll go all the way across there. And then we're going to do the 8th block will also be a redstone block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 8, you knock out. So there's going to be 7 regular blocks in between, and then the 8th one is going to be redstone again. So that's just going to carry along all the way through. And then you do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Knock out the 8th one. And that's going to be redstone all the way along, and that's going to just end up over there. And do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There it is. And that's going to be redstone. We'll carry that along and then do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You knock out that one. And that's going to carry along. And you should, if you did it right, you should have 2 blocks right at the end here. And then whenever you put the redstone or the powered rails on top of there, they should be spaced out good enough to keep the minecarts going. And when you're done, it should look something like that. Before we lay down all the rail, though, I want to make the stoppers for each of the little loading and unloading areas. And so basically what the stopper is, it's not really a stopper, it's more of a bounce backer. So it's basically going to loop around, and each one's going to have its own little track, and then it'll bounce off and come back. So for the first one, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to put the bouncer back thing right there. See that? And so we're going to have basically a powered rail right there. And we may actually want to just use redstone for it. If you got redstone, we'll just do it like that. So when the cart comes in, it'll hit that and just bounce back. We'll do a regular rail though. And it'll just bounce back, and that shouldn't affect the hopper at all. We should still see, yeah, you still see things go through it. So let's go ahead and grab that out. And let's do, so that one's right there, and then we do the same thing, just mirrored on the opposite side. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is where it's going to have the bouncer. And I love how I'm calling it the bouncer, and we'll put a redstone block right next to it. So we're going to do the same thing over on this side. However, let's see, that's going to go up and then down and then up and then down, up and down and then up and then down, and it'll bounce off right here. So we're going to want to go over on the inside one and run all the way to the end over here. Just make sure you stay in your line, and we'll knock out this block. That's going to go right there, and then that's the other bouncer for the middle ones. And then over here we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go on the inside and run along this line all the way to the end. And we'll knock out that block and place the powered rail there. So that's just kind of a marker so we know where everything is. And now we just do the repetitive process of placing down all the rails. The best way to do this is actually just do it in the order that the minecarts are going to go. It's a pain to try and lay down all the powered rails and then do everything else because they won't line up right. So just do it like this. Do all the regular rails and then hit the powered rail, and then all the regular rails in between and the powered rail, and then just go all the way to the end. Ooh, that's going to be a powered rail all the way to the end, and then it's just going to basically loop around like this, and then you're going to put another powered rail and then continue it on. So just do this until you get to one of the stoppers, and then I'll show you what to do next. Well, the redstone block doesn't actually work, so what you want to do is just put a regular block there and just go ahead and extend the powered rails all the way through just like that, and then I'll do the same thing right here. So extend the powered rails just like that. You'll want a regular block there, and the power rails stay powered as long as they're close enough to any kind of source of power, so that's no problem. Oh, and I forgot to replace this one, so we're going to go ahead and put that right there, and then the powered rails are going to go across here, and then same goes for this right here. So we'll have a block right here, and our powered rails just like that. Alright, so now once you've got this first area done, you just want to keep going. We'll go ahead and start right here though, and keep continuing on this design. You're going to have to play with it a little bit whenever you get to these little junctions, trying to make the rails connect, but as long as you play with it a little bit, you kind of understand how they connect, and then you'll be able to get it just fine. So don't get too frustrated, just do basically what I do. I'll show you what I do when I get over there, and it shouldn't be any kind of problem. Alright, so we're coming up on this little junction right here. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do that really helps you to basically line these up just right. So I'm going to come to this second one, and then I'm going to extend it out like this. Now you're going to see that these connect. We'll just break that right there. But you can see that all of these are basically in a line. So now when we place these down, they shouldn't really interfere as long as we keep placing these down. So I'm going to put one right there, get rid of that, and then place that right there. And you see that this one's all on one line, and this one we can go ahead and just start continuing on and doing the same thing that we've been doing. So once you've finished placing down all the rails, what we'll do next is we'll put down the platform above all the rails that you'll be walking on, planting all the trees. I'm going to use glass for this, but you can really use any type of block. It honestly doesn't matter. I just like using glass because you can place the carpet on top, and if you ever need to look down inside it, you can just pop off the carpet and look down inside it. And I think it looks pretty cool with the glass, even though you'll probably cover it up with carpet. But yeah, just do what I'm doing, place down all the glass, and I'll see you in a bit once you've finished that. Alright, so once you've got all the glass put down, what we're going to do now is place down the dirt that you're going to grow the trees on. So let's go ahead and start with this corner. We'll go over 1, 2, 3, and number 4 will be our spot, but we're going to need to go up 4 also. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. So it should basically have 3 blocks in between from here to there, and 3 blocks from the wall on both sides. And so that's your first place of dirt. The next one for the next tree, there's going to be 4 gap, basically a 4 block gap between this dirt and the next one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is your 5th. Okay, so basically there's 3 gaps right there. There's 4 blocks of gap right there, and then right here we're gonna have 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll break the 6th, and we'll also break the 7th because this is going to be where we're gonna place our dark oak tree. So that's going to be right in the middle, and then we'll have 5 blocks of gap again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this is our tree, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this next one is our dirt for the other tree, and then there should just be 3 right here. Alright, so now these single blocks, they're going to be extended backwards, and there's going to be 4 of each type of tree, except for the dark oak, that'll only have 3. Let me just run over here and double check the measurements. So between each tree we should have 4 blocks like I thought, and then for the dark oak we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 between each tree. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. We'll start with this one right here. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll knock out the 5th, and that's going to be right there. And same thing again, 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks gap, and then that's the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's the 5th. So we should have 4 dirt blocks to plant the trees on, just like that. And then for the dark oak, of course this is going to basically do the same thing along here for all of these other trees. So I'll just do the dark oak real quick. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then right here is going to be a 2x2 hole, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gap, and then we'll have a 2x hole again. 2x2 hole. Alright, so just like that, that should be good. And make sure you extend all of these out like that. And then next we will do the rest of the area. Alright, next up is the acacia wood, and the acacia is kind of different because they grow out in such a weird pattern, so I gave them a little bit more space so that we can collect the saplings a little bit better. So what we'll do is we'll come to one of these sides and we'll give it 6 blocks of space, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then that'll be right there at the end. Let's knock that out, and then we'll come over 6 also from here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then place it right there. So that's where these 2 acacia go, and then we basically just mirror it over here. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that'll be right there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that'll be right there. So those blocks will be for the acacia wood, and we'll plant those right there. And lastly, we need to just do the last little patch of dirt. Now it's going to be too wide and it's going to extend from one side to the other. So this is basically where you can plant any of the trees you want. What I usually do is I usually plant a whole bunch of regular oak saplings and let them grow into a huge block of wood. And it's really easy to chop down and everything. You don't get too many saplings with it though. That's the problem, but that's why you have the other trees going. So once again, we'll go out 6 blocks. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll knock out these 2. And that's going to extend all the way down to basically where it lines up right here. So that's 3 blocks away from there. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Knock out these 2. And you can see there's 3 blocks from both sides of the edge of the walls, or I guess the edge of the tracks. And that's just so that we can catch saplings that fall off to the side. Let's take that out, and then we'll knock out all of this glass along here and replace it with dirt. You could also do what I like to do, and that is put a little bit of the colored carpet around each one of the trees. So basically pink will mean that it's jungle or jungle trees, just because jungle wood's kind of pinkish. And then I guess for birch you can do something like white. For the dark oak we'll do the brown, since it's pretty much a brownish color. And then for the regular oak I guess we can do lime green, just like that, because that's kind of what the leaves look like. And for the spruce, I usually do the dark green, I think, just the regular green, I guess. And then back here for the acacia, we can do orange, since the wood is pretty orange when you turn it into planks. You can do that on all of them. And then back here for the wild, you can just do something like black. And then I usually cover the rest of the ground up with just the gray carpet, and so it gives it a nice little look. It covers up all the glass and the rails underneath that look kind of weird. And things can still be picked up through the hoppers, so that works really well. Actually, there's one thing that we need to do that we haven't done yet, and that's get the activator rail put in here. So we're going to go ahead and go to the block right after this dirt block. We're going to break down to the rail and switch it out with this activator rail. Okay, now let's go ahead and close that off, and then we're going to go underneath. So we know that that's the 4th block over. It's going to be over here on this line, and it is the one, or it's 2 blocks right after the redstone block. So we're going to dig underneath and go find it. So basically there's the redstone block, so we go 1, 2, and we know the activator rail is right above there. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and place a redstone dust right there, and we'll come back to that in a little bit, but we'll need that for basically running the brain of the system. So the cool thing about this specific design is that it'll be able to pick up saplings even after you've left the area. So if the trees are still dropping saplings and you've left and replanted and everything, it'll keep running around and picking them up until it's not able to collect any anymore, and then it'll auto shut off. So in order to do the brain, we're going to actually come over here where you place the redstone down, and then we'll break out a block, actually 2 blocks right there, and I'll do a few more to give myself some room. And we'll put a dropper facing this way and a hopper facing into it, and then we'll take out a few blocks around it just so we have some room to work with. So what we're going to want to do is have a repeater go over into there, and whenever the activator rail is triggered, it's going to send an item from the dropper back into the hopper. Now from here, this hopper is actually going to be locked with a redstone torch. So let's go ahead and do that from right here. And so basically there's going to be 2 different things going on here. So the minecart's going to be running around, and it'll keep activating that activator rail every time it hits. And when it does, it will send an item from the dropper into the hopper. But with the hopper, every time we get an item inside the hopper running down through here, we're going to detect it from this hopper right there. So you can see that all of the hoppers are lining down into here. So just, right now we're just going to use a chest for storage. And we'll go ahead and bring this all the way around just like that. And so from there, we want a repeater. And let's go ahead and clear a little bit more room. It's kind of tight, but that's all right. And then we'll go ahead and just place another repeater right there. So it's gonna, anytime it gets any kind of item, it's gonna shift that off, and then it'll let any of the items from the hopper back into the dropper. And that basically resets the system. Let's go ahead and grab those right back here. So now what you want to do is open up the dropper and put 8 items. It could be any kind of item, just make sure there's 8 of them. That seems to be about the right amount of blocks. You could do more, you could do less, it doesn't really matter. Just the more you have in here, the longer it's going to run after it stops collecting any saplings. So keep that in mind, but it's not too big of a deal. And then we've got a comparator coming out from right there. We'll just place a torch right there so it's always off as long as there's items in there. And so basically whenever this dropper is empty, that means that the system is done. It's not running, it's turned off. So actually we're going to want these items in here to start. So they'll all be sitting right there, and this system is turned off. But in order to keep it turned off, we need these powered rails to be turned off. And in order to do that, we just need to send this signal to every one of these little loading and unloading bays. So what we're going to do is, first off, we'll start out by placing a block on top of there, and we'll just grab the signal through that. Be careful with these hoppers and this, or with the hopper and the dropper, because it could send a signal right down. So you could do just all blocks all the way across and do repeaters, or you could just, instead of doing that, do either half slabs or something like glowstone, and then put the redstone on top of there. But just make sure you do something like that, and then have a repeater pointing into there, and then, you know, repeater pointing out of there, and then just connect it with redstone. So you can see that that automatically turns off, and anytime the system is turned on by an item going through, normally you'll have an external switch or something like that, but you'll see that'll turn on, and then it will open up this over here. It's getting kind of hard to see, but you can see that it turned off that torch, so it let all the items through the hopper and into the dropper. So now the system's turned on, and as the minecart runs around, it'll hit this little activator rail and send you know, an item at a time back into the hopper. So this is probably really confusing to a lot of you, but just make sure you put everything where I put it. Just build it the way I did. Even if you don't understand it, it should work just fine. So at this point, what we're going to want to do is, since it's being powered right there, we're going to grab a repeater and then pull a signal out of it, and then redstone all the way across here, and that should send in right into that block, and that's going to turn off this little loading and unloading bay. Now what we want to do is we need to wrap this around in a way that it doesn't affect this. So you could either do it under or just around like this. So I already dug a tunnel. Just going to want to go back around here. Make sure you go far enough away so that you can see that it's not affected by these redstone torches. And then, you know, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks back here of room. And then you can run this back in over here. And then let's just keep making our little track right there. And you'll want another repeater facing into this one, because this one wasn't getting powered before. And then just run that right over there, and you can see that we don't have enough power, so let's go ahead and switch this out for a repeater, and that should send just enough power over here, and it looks like it did. And then all we need to do is get some power over to this one, so let's just make a track to put our redstone on. We'll put a repeater right here so it sends, you know, full power again, and run the redstone all the way over, and a repeater again, and that'll turn that off. So all of these are off by default. You know, this isn't one of the loading bays, so it doesn't really matter. But all of these are off, and it'll stop the minecarts. But right now, I think they're running around. I'm not sure where they are. Oh, I broke them all. That's why they're not running around. But yeah, all of them are off by default. But as soon as this system is turned on by, you know, an item running through, that'll just refresh the timer that we've got right here. Or we'll actually make a switch in a little bit that we can turn this on manually as soon as we enter the room. Alright, so in order to make the switch that turns it on manually, what you want to do is just come over here above this redstone and go ahead and place just a block right there. I like to use a redstone lamp, that's what I've got in it, so that it lights up when you walk on it. And then come underneath, put a sticky piston just straight upside down, and then a block of redstone right there. So as soon as you step on this, it's going to simulate what happens whenever an item goes through there. And that basically resets the timer and lets all the items flow in, and sends all the minecarts. So let's go ahead and place a minecart just so you can see when it activates. So normally the minecart will just be sitting there, just turned off, but as soon as we step on it to turn the system on, it's off. And then if you look down in here, you can see that we've got the 8 items in there, so that's going to go ahead and count every time that runs across the detector rail. One more thing you might want to do is just have a chest that you can throw everything in to be sorted. So what you can do is just, you know, maybe we'll throw it right here. What we'll want to do though is we'll want to cut down over to this chest right here, and then just grab all our hoppers and lead them up, and we'll put our chest right on top of that. So we can just come over here and throw all our items inside of there, and it'll be, you know, sorted out into whatever system we decide to do it. So what I did in my actual Let's Play world is I had this send into a dropper that I had over here, and then that would auto detect and spit out any item that was inside it, and that would go into an elevator up over here and send along an item sorter. So that's something that you guys can look up how to do. There's plenty of tutorials on that. I'm not going to show you how to build that because that's something completely different, but do whatever you want to sort out all of your items, and you know, get be creative, do whatever you want really. Or you could just, you know, have a little chest with a stairway going down. Maybe you build a stairway right here or something, and just go grab all your wood from there. I don't know. Any way that suits you is fine with me. But that's basically it for the tree farm. Now it is fully functional. I haven't decorated it or anything. This is just the bare bones design. Just all of the redstone and spacing and just the dimensions that I built it with. So I hope you guys have found it useful. You know, it's not anything breakthrough or anything, but it's really nice to have all of the the spacing just right so that the saplings drop it, as good as they can. Well, everybody, now that you've built it, I want to welcome you back to the Megacraft server. This is where I do my Let's Play. You can go ahead and check that out on our channel if you would like. But that's where I've built this tree farm. And before we end off the episode, or I guess the tutorial, I do want to go ahead and show you guys some of the features that I've got in here. So you can see that I've got this huge wall around it. That's something that you can definitely do. And in all of these corners, I've got beacons. So I've got, if you look at all of my beacon effects, speed 2, haste 2, and jump 2 are the big ones. That helps me get around and, chop down all the wood as fast as possible. And then I've got a cool pattern down here. This is what I was talking about right here with all of the carpet. So that's what it looks like, just like that. And then right here, this is my pressure plate that I step on to turn it on. So step on the pressure plate before harvesting. And then this is one of my chests that sends down into the item sorter. I'll go down there in a sec just so you guys can see what I did. This is part of the elevator. I made it so that I can actually see when items get sent up into it, so that's pretty cool. What else did I add? This is my whole sorting system. I'll go back into the redstone to show you again. And then I've got crafting tables in all these corners over here. I got a cool design all the way around here. Crafting table right there, and then over here, this is my little workshop area. So I've got all the essentials. So I've got a bunch of crafting tables, a bunch of chests and everything, some anvils and ender chests, some furnaces, and then we got some bone mill in here. So you can actually go through and bone mill things if you want to speed things up. This can double as a cocoa bean farm as well, because you can plant some cocoa beans on these jungle trees and chop those down with it. But yeah, that's all of that. One thing that you may want to do also is above the oak trees, place that. I believe you just need 8 blocks of space for the oak tree to grow, and then place a block or a half slab or something, so that way it doesn't grow into those super huge oak trees. But let's run over here and I'll show you the redstone real quick. I've got just this little room back here. Let's pop that open. So right here, these are all my item sorters. You can see that there's a water. You can see there's an item running across right now. There's a water stream, there's ice right behind it, and then there's all these hoppers, so that just sorts out any of the items. So you can see all the way through there. You can actually run across here, and that's just the overflow storage back here. So let's go down underneath here. When I built this was actually when I was still planning out the design, so it's not exactly the same down here as the one on the video, but it's pretty much the same. I mean, I've got the hoppers running down into here, and it detects from there. This is what's different though. I've got the hoppers running into this dropper right here, and then whenever something gets into the dropper, it auto detects it and sends a little pulse over. So if you want to build that, just build what I have right here. And then I've got the item elevator, so this is all water going around over here. This is Test's item elevator, so you can look that up. A lot of YouTubers actually like to use that. And then pretty much everything else is just about the same. I've got this running down underneath instead of out to the side, but it's the same thing. I've got this running to the side. But yeah, looks like I'm getting a little bit of lag there, but you can see all the stuff is running just fine. I've got all the glowstone and everything. And yeah, I really like this tree farm. I actually prefer it over any kind of automatic tree farm, because a lot of times you have to use a ton of bone meal to actually grow trees. And this one, you don't have to use any bone meal. You can just let it grow naturally, or you can use some bone meal. It's really up to you. It's very versatile. So I think that is everything I wanted to show you about this farm. So that is going to be it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. I really hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Hope you can actually build this in your world. If you do end up building it in your world and you make videos, go ahead and leave a comment or a video response or something. I'd love to see if someone actually builds this, or if you don't record it, just leave a comment, let me know how it works for you. But for me, it's working really good. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you did like the video, I would love for you to hit the like button. Definitely helps out the video, and it helps you find it later if you need to build this. But if you really like our videos, you can hit subscribe and not miss when I make a new Megacraft video. I actually just made one earlier today, so those come out pretty regularly. And other than that, that is going to be it. So hope you guys have enjoyed, and we will see you next time. Peace out, everybody.